On this video, I am going to be reading the Greek of Matthew, the Sermon on the Mount, chapter 5, verses 31 and 32. I'll be reading it in Greek with grammar, and then Hebrew with grammar analysis, and then Latin. So we're going to read it and verse by verse. And if anyone wants to follow, if you have a Greek New Testament or a Hebrew translation or a Latin translation, please feel free to follow, or anyone that would want to follow along. It reads, Erethe de dan apaluse tein gunaika autu, dato aute apostasian. It is written, whosoever shall put away or release his wife, divorce his wife, let him give to her a bill of divorcement. Notice erethe is your aorist indicative passive, third person singular from Lego. And so whosoever shall divorce, apaluo is the aorist subjunctive, third person singular from apaluo. Whosoever should release or divorce his wife, let him give to her a bill of divorcement. Notice dato is the aorist imperative, third person singular from didomi. So let him give an apostasion. Apostasion is like a written bill of divorcement or notice to her that he was divorcing her at this time in the world of that day. So then the Hebrew reads, and I'm following Delitzsch, which is public domain, and it reads like this: V'ne amar ish asher yeshalach et ishto v'natan la sefer keritut. And it has been said that if a man is sending away his wife, then he shall give to her a sefer keritut, a bill of, or a book or writing of divorcement. Notice ne'amar is from the root amar. It has, it has been said. And here we have a nifal, perfect, third masculine singular from amar. And it has been said, a man who is sending away, or who would send away. Notice yes shalach is from the root shalach, to send away. Here we have a PL imperfect, third masculine singular from shalach, should send his wife. Then he shall give to her. Notice natan is the cow perfect, third masculine singular from natan, with a vav consecutive or conversive. He shall give to her a sefer, a book of kerutut, a sefer, a book of, or a written kind of a letter of divorcement. Then the Latin reads, let me just pick it up here. It reads, dictum est autem, qui cumque demisseret uxorem suum, det illi libellum repudii. That is, it has been said, here we have the perfect, whosoever should divorce his wife, let him give, we have another imperative third person singular. Let him give to her a writing of repudiation or of divorce. Then going back to the Greek text again, to the next verse, notice verse 32. Ego de lego humen, chati pascha apaluon ten gunaika autu, parektas lagu porneas poie autain, moikuthenai, kaichas an apalelumenen gamese moikatai. That is, but I say to you that everyone who divorces, who puts sins away, his wife, except for a reason of fornication, is making her to be committing adultery, and whosoever should marry the one who has been put away or divorced is committing adultery. Let's look now at the grammar of verse 32. Notice as we're looking at the grammar, it begins, it has been, but I am saying to you. Notice again, we have the present indicative active, first person singular in lego, but I am saying to you that everyone who divorces his wife, except for a reason of fornication. Notice ha apaluon is your present active articular participle, masculine singular, from apaluo. So everyone who divorces his wife, except for a cause of fornication. Notice here a matter or reason of fornication. Porneia is a general word that looks at any type of sexual immorality, all types of unchastity. And so whoever has that any type of unlawful unchastity, except for that reason, he, in other words, whosoever, for everyone who divorces his wife, except for a reason of fornication, unchastity, is making her to be an adulteress. Poie is your present indicative active third person singular from poieo, and moikuthenai is your from moikuo. It is your aorist passive infinitive from moikuo. Notice luthenai, if we were using luo, would be the aorist passive infinitive. So it's causing her to commit adultery, and whosoever should marry the one having been put away. Kaichas an apalelumene gamese. Notice apalelumene is from apaluo again. It's the perfect passive participle accusative feminine singular from apaluo. So whosoever, the one having been put away, should marry. Gamese is from gameo, to marry. Here we have the aorist subjunctive third person singular from gameo. Then he is committing adultery. Moikatai, again, is from moikeo. Here we have the present indicative middle third person singular from moikeo. Then looking at the Hebrew text at this point, notice the Hebrew reads, Avel ani omer lachem, hameshaleach et ishto, Bilti al devar zanud ose ota no afet v'halokeach et ha gerushalo leisha no hu. And so we read it, translate it. Verily, I am saying to you. Notice Omer is your present participle, masculine singular from Amar. I am saying to you, the one who sends away his wife. Notice ha meshaleach is from shalach, to send away. Here we have a PL participle, masculine singular from shalach, with the definite article, an articular PL participle. So the one who sends away his wife, bilti, except al devar zenut ose ota no afet. In other words, except for a word or a matter of chastity, zenut, is making her to commit adultery. Notice oseh is from asa. It's the kal participle, masculine singular from asa. Is making her committing adultery. Notice na'af means to commit adultery. And here we have a present participle, feminine singular from na'af. And then v'halokeach et hagerusha, and the one who takes the one who has been driven away. Notice lokeach is your present, is your excuse me, kal participle, masculine singular from lakach, and with a definite article. So the one who takes, the one having been driven away, ha gerusha. Garash means to drive away. And here we have a kal passive participle, feminine singular from garash. So the one who takes, the one having been driven away to him, leisha no hu. To wife, the one who takes the one driven away, to him for wife, no hu. He is committing adultery. No is from na'af, to commit adultery. Here we have a kal participle, a masculine singular from na'af. So that's the Greek Hebrew with the Hebrew grammar. And then the Latin, reading the Latin here, it reads, Ego autem dico vobis, for I say to you, omnis qui demiseret uxerem suum, excepto fornicationis causa facet eum moi cari, et qui demissam duxerit adulteret. But I am saying to you, here we have the present indicative active, first person singular from dicere. I say to you that everyone who should dismiss his wife, except for the cause of fornication. Notice fornicationis is your genitive singular, except for fornication, is making her from facere, present indicative active, third person singular, to be an adulteress, from moi kari, a passive infinitive, et qui demissam dexerit, and whoever should marry the one having been sent away is committing adultery, adultera. Here we have the present indicative active, third person singular, from that route to commit adultery. Now, let me just make a comment on this. In terms of my understanding, I believe the text is looking at this kind of a background. And I would bring in chapter 19 of Matthew in relationship to this. In 19, they ask the Lord, is it okay to put away your wife for any reason? And we must understand, I believe, that in the first century at this time, some of the Jewish rabbis understood that you can put away your wife for a wide variety of reasons. And they appealed to Deuteronomy 24, Ervat Davar. If a man finds an Ervat Davar, an unclean thing in his wife, he can send her away. And that became very loose. In other words, if one, let's say, if she burned the toast or did anything, one might claim that and give a bill of divorcement. And then Jesus replies, no, I say to you, in the beginning, God made male and female. And therefore, one should not just put away his wife for every reason at all, but for fornication, sexual immorality. I believe what Jesus is doing is this. And they say, for example, in 19, why did Moses allow this? He said Moses allowed it because of the hardness of human heart. But I believe we must understand that Jesus supported what Moses wrote. In other words, he was inspiring as part of the triune Godhead what was being written in the Torah. He even said he had not come to destroy the Torah, but to fulfill it. So what is Jesus doing? I believe he is basically bringing it back to Genesis chapter 2, the very beginning of the creation, where he made male and female. I don't believe he is making a legalistic rule that that's the absolute only ground. If I could use an analogy, because he said Moses allowed it because of the hardness of human heart. But from the beginning, it was not so. And if I could give an illustration, it would be something like this. Let's say an emergency vehicle is going faster than the speed limit. Say the speed limit in a town might be 35 miles an hour or 25, depending on where you are in the city or town. Let's say an emergency vehicle comes through and is going much faster than that. Let's say is going, we don't know, but much faster. The policeman would not stop the emergency vehicle because the emergency vehicle, emergency squad, is taking someone to the hospital to save life. And I believe that that's what Deuteronomy 24 was all about in the first place. It was about saving life because of the hardness of human heart. But what began to happen? People took that and said, we can all be emergency vehicles. So everyone now, let's use my analogy, is driving much faster than the speed limit. But they're not emergency vehicles. The policeman stopping those that are driving too fast would say, wait a minute, the speed limit is 35. So I have to give you a ticket. You're going too fast, or 25. Can we say that's what I believe Jesus is doing? I think he's taking it back to the normative way of understanding, let's say, marriage. and taking it back to Genesis 2. However, I do not believe he's forbidding emergency vehicles. That is, people, let's say, who have maybe they're under attack, they're being verbally abused for many years. No, I don't think Jesus is saying you can't have a divorce in that situation. That could be an emergency vehicle situation. But I think he's taking it back and he's saying, wait a minute, all of you that are trying to interpret Deuteronomy 24 just for any reason, no, let's go back to Genesis 2, except for porneia, unchastity. But he does say God allowed that though in Genesis chapter, or excuse me, in Deuteronomy 24 because of the hardness of the human heart. So I think that's how I understand Jesus. I don't think he's making a rule that's more rigid than Deuteronomy 24. But I think Deuteronomy, because he said, I've come to fulfill the Torah to a yod and a tittle. I think Deuteronomy 24 is dealing, as it was written, with emergency vehiculism, if I could use that analogy, taking heart attack victims to a hospital, where I think people had begun to abuse that, and everybody is becoming an emergency vehicle, and they're not heart attack victims. So I think the policeman would say, wait a minute, the speed limit is 35 or 25. I think that's what Jesus is doing here in the Sermon on the Mount and also in chapter 19, bringing it back to what was created in Genesis 2 as the norm, as the basic speed limit, if I could put it that way, but not destroying emergency vehicles. So at any rate, I'm going to stop there. And so again, I'm going to go back and pick up where we left off in our next video and move on to deal with other texts in the Sermon on the Mount. That sound okay, huh?